I don't really believe in haunted houses. I mean, I like the idea of them, makes Halloween more fun. But real haunted houses? Nah. That was my stance, at least, until a few years ago. This happened when I was 23. I had just moved to a new city for work, St. Louis, Missouri. Found a cheap 2-bedroom rental on Calder Street. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, but I was broke, fresh out of college, and desperate to move out of my cousin's place. The house was a little run down, but charming in its own way. Hardwood floors, old radiators, that kind of vintage look that people on Pinterest drool over. It was a private rental. No big real estate company, just some old guy named Mr. Caro who barely looked up from his crossword puzzle when I signed the lease. I should have known something was weird when I mentioned the second bedroom, and he said, "No one stays in that room long." Thought he was just being quirky. Old people, right? Anyway, the first week was fine. I was working a lot, spending long hours setting up my home office, grabbing takeout, and watching Netflix on a mattress on the floor. I hadn't even unpacked fully yet, but things started getting weird, quiet weird at first. It was around 2 a.m. one night. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone like always. That's when I heard footsteps upstairs. Thing is, I live alone, and the house is a single story. There is no upstairs. I froze. It sounded like someone walking across a hardwood floor, slow and heavy. A few steps. Then silence. I sat up listening. Maybe it was a raccoon on the roof or something. Then it happened again. Footsteps, same exact pattern, same speed, like someone pacing. I got up and checked every room. Front door locked, windows latched, nothing out of place. But I couldn't shake the sound. It didn't come from outside. It came from above. The next day I climbed up into the attic. It was a cramped crawl space, dusty, with those old pink insulation rolls and a broken rocking chair shoved in the corner. No footprints, no signs of animals, just stillness. I told myself I imagined it. Lack of sleep, maybe an echo from the street. But the next night it wasn't footsteps, it was whispering. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it, faint, like someone muttering through a wall. I turned off the faucet and held my breath. It was coming from the second bedroom, the one I hadn't even set foot in yet. I crept over, toothbrush still in hand, and pressed my ear against the door. Nothing, but as soon as I stepped away, it started again. Low, rhythmic, like someone talking to themselves in a loop. I flung the door open. The room was empty, still, cold, freezing cold. That was the first time I noticed the smell, like stale pond water and mildew. It clung to the doorway. That night, I slept with the lights on. I wish I could say I moved out right then, but I didn't. I rationalized everything. Old house sounds. Weird insulation. Maybe the smell's coming from the floorboards. I didn't even tell anyone, felt stupid. But a few nights later, it escalated. I woke up around 3 a.m. My bedroom door was wide open. I never sleep with the door open. I sat up fast and my heart almost stopped. Standing in the hallway, barely visible in the dim glow of the kitchen nightlight, was someone. Or something. It wasn't moving, just standing there. Tall, thin, like a shadow stretched too long. I couldn't see its face. I couldn't breathe. I remember blinking, just once, and it was gone. No footsteps, no sound. Just gone. I lost it. I flipped on every light, checked every lock, every window. Nothing. I barely slept the rest of the night. The next morning, I called Mr. Caro. I didn't want to sound crazy, so I just asked, "Hey, has anything weird ever happened in this house?" There was a pause. Then he said, "You're staying in 117? I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That house has history. Not criminal or anything, just history." I asked what he meant, and he said, and I'll never forget this, "Tenants don't stay long. The second room gets into your head." Then he hung up. I didn't know what the hell that meant, but that night I did something I shouldn't have done. I slept in the second bedroom. I was sick of being scared. I thought maybe if I spent one night in there, it would break the spell. Just face it head on. I brought a sleeping bag, set it on the old carpet, and laid down with my phone flashlight on. The smell was worse in there, damp, like something rotting under the floor. At around 1:30, I started hearing the whispering again. Only this time, it was closer. I sat up, shining my flashlight toward the closet. The whispering stopped. I stared at the closet door. It was cracked open. I hadn't opened it. Then, slowly, it creaked open wider. Not fast, not violently, just slow, like someone was pushing it from the inside. I backed toward the bedroom door, but it slammed shut behind me, hard. My flashlight flickered, then died. I stood in pitch black, frozen. The air in that room was thick, like breathing through a wet towel. I swear the walls were pulsing. I don't remember how long I stood there, too scared to move. But then I heard it, something breathing, not heavy, shaky, like whatever was in that closet was struggling to stay quiet. I bolted. I don't even remember unlocking the front door. I just remember stumbling into the street in bare feet, panting, crying. I stayed at a friend's place that night, never stepped foot in that house again. A few weeks later, I saw a new listing go up for 117 Calder Street. Recently vacated, classic charm, 2-bedroom, same rent, same owner. To this day, I don't know what was in that house. No one believes me, of course, but I still dream about it. And sometimes in those dreams, the closet door is still creaking open. And this time, I don't wake up. This happened last year, and I still don't have an explanation. I live in a pretty normal 2-story home just outside of Portland. It's not historic or spooky looking. It's not in the woods or near a cemetery. It's in a regular neighborhood with mailboxes and kids on scooters. My wife and I bought it 5 years ago. No weird history, no deaths, no rumors, just a quiet modern house with bad insulation and a decent backyard, which is why I can't explain what happened. It started on a Tuesday. We had just come back from visiting my in-laws over the weekend. Normal trip, long drive. The house was locked up, thermostat lowered, fridge emptied. When we got home, everything looked fine, nothing broken, nothing missing, except the microwave clock was off. Small thing, right? Probably a power flicker while we were gone. I reset it and moved on. That night, we were both dead tired. My wife, Kayla, crashed on the couch watching House Hunters. I locked up, turned off the porch light, and we went to bed around 11:30. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the smoke alarm chirping. You know that high-pitched single beep when the battery's low? That. Except it wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from downstairs, from the kitchen. I groaned, stumbled down the stairs barefoot, and grabbed a chair to reach the alarm. But here's the thing. There was no smoke alarm on the kitchen ceiling. There never had been. Just recessed lights. Smooth ceiling, no fixture, no wires, nothing. The sound had stopped by the time I stood there blinking at the ceiling like an idiot. I started wondering if maybe it was coming from the garage, or maybe even from my neighbor's place, but the sound had felt inside. You can tell when something's echoing from another house. This wasn't that. I brushed it off, went back upstairs. The next night, it was footsteps. Upstairs, even though we were both in bed. It was faint at first, like soft shifting. I remember freezing, thinking Kayla had gotten up, but she was right next to me, still asleep. I held my breath, waited. Then I heard a slow creak from the hallway, like someone stepping on the 3rd stair from the top, the one that always makes noise. But no one was supposed to be in the hallway. I got up, heart pounding. I checked every room. Nothing. The doors were locked, windows shut. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, and then it got worse. 2 days later, Kayla screamed in the shower. I ran in and found her clutching the shower curtain, shaking. She said she felt someone breathe down her neck right before the light turned off. The bathroom light switch was on the outside of the room. She thought I was messing with her, but I was downstairs the whole time. That night, we heard whispering, from inside the walls. I swear to God, it wasn't the pipes, it wasn't wind. It sounded like two people talking. Only, the words didn't make sense, like broken English or a language we didn't know. Fast, clipped syllables. We couldn't tell where it was coming from. The next morning, there were scratches on the inside of our bedroom door. Not deep, just a series of vertical lines. 4 of them. Kayla thought maybe it was the dog. We don't have a dog. By Friday, I was sleeping with a baseball bat next to the bed. Kayla was jumpy, anxious. We were snapping at each other over little things. The house felt tense, like the air was thick. Then came the humming. It started while Kayla was in the laundry room, a slow, steady hum from the vent. She said it felt like it was vibrating the walls. When she looked inside the vent with her phone flashlight, she swore something pulled her hair. Hard. I didn't see anything, but I felt something in there, a kind of static, a wrongness. That night we agreed. Something was off in this house. We Googled everything. Carbon monoxide, infrasound, Moldavian. We even brought in a guy to test for radon. Everything came back normal. The house was clean, but it didn't feel clean. Saturday night, we stayed up, left every light on, slept in the living room together just in case. At 2:41 a.m., the thermostat reset to 32 degrees. We watched it happen. The screen blinked, then dropped. Fast, from 68 to 32. The heater clicked off. The house went silent. Then the whispering started again. Only this time, it was right behind us. We turned around. No one there. Kayla started crying. She was done. We left the house at 3 a.m. in our pajamas, drove to a hotel, and didn't come back until Monday. We called an electrician, a plumber, a pest guy, a priest. No one found anything. Nothing. That was a year ago. Things stopped after that weekend. Just stopped. No footsteps, no humming, no more whispering. The house went back to normal like it never happened. But the scratches are still on the bedroom door, and sometimes when I walk past the laundry room vent, I swear I still hear humming, the kind that vibrates your teeth just a little. People always ask, did someone die in the house? Did you build over something? No, there's no story, no tragedy, no explanation. It was a normal house until it wasn't. I've lived in Chicago for most of my adult life, and I always assumed city condos were the last place you'd find anything haunted. There's just too much noise, too much light, too many people packed on top of each other. You don't think about ghosts when you're ordering Uber Eats and riding elevators. But what happened in my last apartment changed that completely. It was a luxury high-rise near the river. I'd just gotten promoted, and after years of tiny walk-ups, I finally had the income for a real place. I found this sleek one-bedroom on the 16th floor, Unit 1603, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern kitchen, smart thermostat, the works. It was a steal, honestly. The listing price was lower than most units in the building. The realtor said the last tenant had left unexpectedly for a job transfer, and I didn't ask questions. I was just excited to have a washer-dryer and a view of the lake. At first, everything was great, but then weird things started happening. Small stuff at first, easily explainable. The lights in the hallway flickered every time I walked by them. Not just randomly, every time. Same 2 lights. I chalked it up to bad wiring. The blinds would open on their own. At first, I figured it was the morning timer or a glitch in the smart system. But one night, I was watching TV, and I saw them rise slowly. I hadn't touched anything, no app open, no timer, just the sound of the motor whirring by itself in the dark. Then came the noises. At night, I started hearing tapping from the walls. Always near the bathroom. It wasn't plumbing. It wasn't rhythmic. It was hesitant, like someone was trying to make noise but didn't want to get caught. I remember lying in bed one night staring at the ceiling when I heard it. A whisper, clear as day, a woman's voice. From the hallway. I sat up. "Hello," I called out even though I knew I was alone. There was no answer, but the air felt wrong, cold, still. and not the kind of cold the thermostat could fix, like something was off in the bones of the place. I started looking into the unit's history. I didn't find anything at first, no major crimes, no obvious deaths. But when I reached out to the building's maintenance guy, things got interesting. He was hesitant at first, told me there wasn't anything I needed to worry about, but after I pressed him, he gave me a name. Angela Moreno. She had lived in Unit 1603 about 4 years ago. Mid-30s, corporate, single, seemed normal. Until she started filing bizarre maintenance requests. She said her shower would turn on by itself, that her dishwasher was whispering things when it ran, that someone kept entering her unit while she was asleep, even though the doors were locked from the inside. I asked what happened to her. He paused. She jumped, he said, from the balcony. I felt sick. I didn't even know she had died in the unit. I thought maybe she just moved out like the listing said. I went home that night and stood on my own balcony, 16 stories up. The wind was sharp, almost slicing across my face. I didn't sleep well after that. Things escalated quickly. One night I woke up and the bathroom light was on. Not just on, but flickering, like a dying bulb. I walked over, groggy, and the second I stepped inside, it stopped, light solid, no flicker, but in the mirror, there was fog. Like someone had just stepped out of a hot shower, except I hadn't used the shower, not in 12 hours. There was a handprint on the glass. Small, feminine. That was the first night I stayed in a hotel, but curiosity got the better of me like it always does. I started digging deeper. Angela Moreno had seen a therapist in the months before her death. The records weren't public, but a Reddit thread led me to a blog she had apparently kept, hidden behind a dummy username. It was mostly ramblings at first, bad days at work, loneliness, stress, but then the entries turned darker. It lives in the walls. The hallway is different at night, longer. I keep dreaming about drowning, but I'm standing up. I heard myself speak, but it wasn't my voice. Then, just a week before she died, it wants me to leave or jump. I closed the laptop. I felt physically nauseous. That night, I went back to the condo one last time to pack my stuff. I just wanted out. I didn't care about the lease, the deposit, nothing, but something didn't want me to leave. As I was packing, the lights started flickering in every room, not just one or two, all of them. I heard footsteps in the hallway, not outside, inside, then a voice, soft and almost pleading, "Stay." I spun around. Nothing was there. But the thermostat dropped suddenly, from 70 to 38. The blinds flew open. The balcony door unlocked itself with a loud click. And then, I saw her. Just for a second. In the reflection of the window. A woman. Standing behind me. Wet hair. Eyes wide. I turned around. Empty room. That was it for me. I grabbed what I could and ran, left the rest behind. I broke my lease, lost a month's pay, didn't care. To this day, I still have no idea what Angela saw or what followed her. But I know I wasn't imagining it. You don't feel that kind of fear and forget it. You don't hear someone whisper from inside your mirror and chalk it up to stress. And every once in a while, I check the listings for that building. Unit 1603 is always available. And the rent keeps getting lower. I work in real estate, so I've seen all kinds of homes. Big ones, old ones, weirdly remodeled ones with carpet in the bathrooms. But this was the first time I saw a brand new house feel older than time itself. This happened 2 years ago when my fiancé and I bought a house just outside of Phoenix. We were tired of renting and wanted something we could actually grow into. We looked at dozens of homes, but nothing felt right. Too small, too expensive, bad yard, bad layout, until we found the place. It was in a new subdivision, like brand new, streets barely paved. Every house looked like a slightly different shade of beige, with pristine driveways and identical doorbells. Ours was the last one on the cul-de-sac. Model, Westfield Horizon, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, open concept, smart home, never lived in. The moment we stepped in, it just felt good, clean, peaceful. We signed the papers that same week. The first few days were bliss. We got new furniture, painted the walls, even hosted a little move-in cookout. It was our fresh start, but about a week in, we started noticing weird things. It started small. Motion alerts on our phone from the smart doorbell, always around 3:12 a.m., but every time we checked, the video feed showed nothing. No wind, no animals, just our porch light slowly flickering. Then came the smell. At random times, usually in the middle of the night, the house would fill with this earthy, wet soil scent, like a garden after a thunderstorm, except stronger. Stale, like old dirt that hadn't been touched in decades. We had a plumber come out. He found nothing. Then one night I woke up and saw something strange. There were footprints on the floor, not shoe prints, not ours, barefoot, and not just muddy, but reddish-brown, like clay or rusted iron. They started at the edge of the hallway and led straight to our bedroom door. I thought maybe someone had broken in. We checked everything, doors, windows, locks. Nothing was tampered with. No one was there. The next morning, they were gone. Scrubbed clean. Neither of us did it. That was the first time I remember feeling watched inside our own house. Then came the dreams. Not nightmares exactly. Just vivid, like I wasn't in my own head. I kept waking up covered in sweat, my heart racing, but I couldn't remember why. One night, though, I did remember. I was lying in a field. My hands were bound. The ground was cold and soaked through with blood. Above me, dark figures moved in a circle. Their faces were smeared with ash and paint, and they were chanting. Not words I understood, just low, guttural sounds, almost like growling. One of them looked straight at me. His eyes were pure black. And then I woke up screaming. That same night, my fiancée woke up with scratches down her back. 3 long marks. They looked deep. We had no pets. No nails sharp enough to do that. That's when we called the builder. We didn't mention the dreams or the footprints, just said we'd been having weird plumbing smells, flickering lights, and asked if there had been issues with the lot. He went quiet, then said, "I don't know if I should be the one to tell you this." Apparently, during construction, they uncovered human remains on several lots, including ours. Old bones, indigenous. Most likely from a tribal burial ground, hundreds of years old. They were told it wasn't a significant site and that some of the bones were relocated for study. A few, he said, were reburied respectfully on the property. That's when I knew we were living on top of something that had never agreed to be disturbed. That same night, things exploded. We were eating dinner when the smoke alarms all went off, blaring, loud, non-stop. We jumped up, ran around trying to reset them, but they wouldn't stop. Then every light in the house flickered, blinking faster and faster until they popped off one by one. I was trying to reset the breaker when I heard my fiancée scream from the kitchen. I ran back in. All the cabinets were wide open, and carved into the drywall, carved, not drawn, were 3 symbols. I didn't recognize them, but they looked old. Worn. Angry. We left that night, stayed at her sister's place. We tried to get the house blessed, but every spiritual advisor we called canceled after visiting. One woman, a Navajo elder, came by the property and wouldn't even step onto the lawn. She said something was still buried there, something that didn't want to be found. Eventually, we sold the place, disclosed everything. The buyer didn't seem to care, said he was an investor. I checked the listing a few months ago. It's back on the market, same price, same description. Brand new, never lived in. But that's not true. It was lived in, and something older than us still lives there now.